So when Christ said, "Take, eat, this is my body," what did he mean by that? Was that literal, spiritual, or symbolical? Let's look at the three major views of the Lord's Supper within the Christian church. So the first view is known as the real presence. It believes that Christ, the bread and the wine, literally turn into the body and the blood of the Lord. So then when Christ said, "Take, eat, this is my body," he literally meant for the Christians to eat in his body and drink his blood. The act of transferring by the priest the bread and wine to the body and the blood of the Lord is known as transubstantiation. Underneath this act, believers are receiving the Lord, and it is a continual repeating of his suffering on Calvary. Churches who hold to this view primarily are your Roman Catholic, your Eastern Orthodox, your Anglican, which also known as High Church, some of your high churches, and your Lutheran hold a middle view in between this and the next view, which is Lutherans believe that all that the first position believes. However, they believe that the presence is more spiritual than literal, but there is a literal presence. The next view is known as the spiritual presence, or the Reformed view. In this, Christ is spiritually but not physically in the bread and the wine, yet within the bread and the wine, there is a real presence of Christ there. And the act is not a repetition of Christ's suffering, but yet Christ is there spiritually, and the believers are nourished spiritually through this act of taking communion. And then the last and final view, or the churches who hold to that first, are the Reformed, your Presbyterian, some of your Anglican and Methodist traditions. So the last one is known as a symbolic. And underneath this view, the Lord's Supper is a commemorative act. It's a reminding the believer of Christ's suffering and what it took to purchase their salvation. So then it is a commemorative act publicly before the church of the sufferings of Christ. So it is symbolic. So there is no real presence of Christ in the bread and wine, for it still remains bread and wine. It's only a symbol. Believers are already partakers of Christ's death and need not partake of it continually to remain saved. The primary scripture for this view is 1 Corinthians 11:26. The churches who hold to this view are primarily your Baptist, your Pentecostal, Evangelicals, and most non-denominational churches hold to this view. So my question to you is, what do you think? Is the presence of Christ in the communion, is it literal? Is it spiritual, or is it symbolical? What do you think best describes the biblical interpretation? And let me know in the comments below. And as always, like, share, and connect.